I welcome all of you to this great lunch and hope that you will enjoy both the food that is always exceptional and also our program that will follow. We have a couple of people who have asked to make very short announcements, so I'm going to turn the time over to them. And Larry, you can go first, then Carla, and then Karen Howard, our UVU liaison, will lead us in the pledge.
One fast announcement. This coming Monday night at the Orem Public Library, where many of you go on Friday to see the movie, they will be having an opening reception from 7 to 8:30 in honor of the quilt show that will be hung there, that will be hanging there from November 17th to 14th. I've been notified yesterday that they've accepted 2 of my quilts that will be hanging in the show, and looking forward to Jen. I've been invited to be the first potpourri speaker for Elder Press, and I get to have the privilege of introducing 2026 as the nation's birthday celebration of 250 years. And all of you need to know that fabric and quilt making is definitely a big part of the fabric of America, pun fully intended. They would love to have you come again this Monday night, 7 to 8:30, if you care to come to the opening of the quilt shows, and there will even be refreshments. Thank you.
I've been told I need to do this quickly, and I promise I will. We have 3 tours that are going to come, that we're going to be doing next year, that are longer tours. The first one is going to Logan, and that will be June 25th to the 27th. We have 4 shows, amazing shows: Scalia and Ginsburg, Pirates of Penzance, the last 5 years in 1776. I mean, it is a great season. They are only doing it for 2 weeks. So we are going then because the next week is on the 4th of July. And so we are going this week. We want to have all of you that would love to go with us. It's a quick tour. It's a super fun tour. We've done this for years, and we're excited that they're back this year with the 4 shows. So we want to be supportive of them. Our next trip is going to be going on a cruise, and we're going to be doing the New England, Canada cruise, where we have 2 stops in Maine, and we will be also going to Halifax, Nova Scotia. St. John will be where you could go to Acadia National Park if you want. So we are really excited about this. This is on the Norwegian breakaway, and it's in October. So we're hoping that we will see some fall leaves and some fall colors. Those that want to can join us for 2 weeks before, 2 days before in Boston. And we've got a tour that we've got planned there that you're going to see and experience the history of Boston. So that will be wonderful. And our last show, our last tour of the year in 2026 is going to be Christmas in Branson. We do this every 2 to 3 years, and it is such a fun tour. We've already got 19 people signed up. We would love to have more of you join. We're going to buy the airline tickets in January. And so the first payment was due this month on the 10th. So you're not too late to join. If you'd like to come, please join us. I have all of the paperwork that will be back on the table back there as you're leaving. So if you want to stop, look at it, give us a call with any questions. We'd love to have you come.
All right, will you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
please go ahead and enjoy your lunch. The salad I'm finding is delicious. And I'm sure the main course will be coming soon. Culinary arts do an amazing job for us. We thank them. And as they wait on you, thank them as well. And so we'll just go ahead and eat. Our guest speaker, Kyle Reyes, is on a very tight schedule. And we've been told that when he comes, everything needs to stop. So you can go on eating, of course, but just be aware that when he comes, no matter where we are in the program, we will take time to hear from him. So eat and enjoy. Here come our culinary arts majors, all ready to serve you. Let's give them a hand.
Hello, everybody. My name is Terry Ann Harvard, and I work on the scholarship committee with UVU Elder Quest. But because Kyle is going to dash in and then dash out, I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to introduce him. So I'd like to introduce him now, and then you'll know when he comes, if that's okay. Kyle, I've known Kyle for years, so I'm going to call him Kyle, but he is Dr. Kyle A. Reyes, R-E-Y-E-S. He's the Vice President of Institutional Advancement. Does anybody know what institutional advancement does? Can't hear me? Is that better? Okay. Does anybody know what institutional advancement does? It's an interesting name, huh? I worked in UVU development, which is institutional advancement now. They're the arm, the department of UVU that does the fundraising for all of the buildings and for all of the scholarships and for anything that requires any kind of fundraising or giving. Does that work better?
Yeah.
Am I doing it
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. When I was at UVU, which was almost 10 years ago that I retired, we were thrilled to get any kind of a donation that was bigger than $1 million. We really, most of them were in the thousands. And that was for big gifts for buildings. For students, there were some people who gave money for students, for scholarships, and those are the people that I got to work with. And I got to meet some amazing people who were concerned and wanted to make the world better by helping students get through school, just like you do. There are a lot of ways to give money, and this is not part of my talk. I'm just telling you because I used to work in that department. There are a lot of ways for us to give money. I worked with a lady who every time her IRA rolled over, that was the funds that she gave to UVU for a scholarship. Some of them put in their wills or in their trusts a certain amount of their funds will go to UVU for in a certain place, either a building or a scholarship, or you can do an endowed scholarship, or just there are lots of ways to give. There's also bequests, and I don't know what bequests are. We'll have to ask Vicki to come back, and she's the director of planned giving, and she'll tell us what that is at another meeting. But during his 20 years, Kyle has served as Vice President of Student Affairs, which was over student government, which is dear to my heart because I was a student body president, but not while he was there. But he got to work with student government and the students, anything student affairs he got to work with. He's very dynamic and you'll love him. He was also the Senior Diversity and Inclusion Officer and Chief of Staff to the President. And I don't remember which president it was. Was it our current president, Astrid Jimenez, or was it President Holland? It was President Holland, President Matt Holland. President Matt Holland, just for your information, I used to work with students, and we used to invite him to come to some of the luncheons that where the students and the scholarship donors were. Somebody asked him why he came to UVU, why he left BYU and came to UVU. And he said a few things, and then he stopped and he said, you know, most of the students that go to BYU are well supported, either by their family or their community or the church. A lot of the students that come to UVU are doing so because they need help, and they can, and it's an open door college, and there are some scholarships available, and we support them. That's why I came to UVU. Made me so proud. Let's see. Kyle is, I really love Kyle. And I don't know him that well, except that I've watched him through the years. Kyle and his wife, Michelle, have 7 children and deliberately try to build their cultural heritage, which is Hawaiian, Navajo, Filipino, and Japanese, into their family learning and engagement. Kyle attributes his love of education, advocacy, and the arts to his Hawaiian Japanese educator mother and his Filipino artist father. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Now you know a little bit about Kyle, Dr. Reyes, and when he comes, we'll just introduce him and have him come speak. Okay? All right. I see Kyle Reyes, Dr. Reyes walking in. Dr. Reyes, you have already been introduced, so whenever you're ready, come on up and speak. Thank you for coming.
Oh, hey. My goodness. So you already introduced me?
Yes.
But did they say nice things? Did you say some nice things? Okay. Well, look, I don't want to. By the way, you go eat. You don't have to make eye contact with me. I'm not offended. It's more the food that's in front of you is more important than listening to me. But I will just say, what an honor to be here. I have come to this luncheon a number of years, and so for those who've heard me speak before, I'm so sorry that you've got to hear me speak again. For those that don't know me, you heard the intro, but let me just give a more personal intro. My name is Kyle Reyes, and I've worked at Utah Valley University for 22 years. And so some people, I share that with them, and they said, well, what age did you start working there? And I said, I was 12 when I started working there. I have 7 children. My wife, Michelle, and I have 7 children. She is from the Navajo Nation, northeastern Arizona. And my family comes from the Big Island of Hawaii and the Philippines. So my father from from Subic in the Philippines, and my mother from Hawaii Island, the northern coast of Hawaii Island. So I'm Hawaiian Japanese from my mother, Filipino from my father, and my wife is Navajo. And so my kids, are you paying attention? Hawaiian, Filipino, Japanese, Navajo Americans. And we are so grateful to live in this country and to also have these heritages that are very rich. I share that because recently I have been pondering a lot about the word legacy. Let me give you a quick update about why that word has been on my mind. For those that don't know what's happening at UVU, our dear president has had a tough year. Our dear president, Astrid Jimenez, has had a really, really difficult year. In February, she lost her husband. Jeff Tolk was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2018. He was told by his doctors that the way that you can work with this is to exercise in a way that makes sense to you. So Jeff started climbing the biggest peaks across the United States and the world. He summited 7 mountains from 2018 to 2025 And in February, he was on a mountain in Ecuador, summiting Cotopaxi in Ecuador with his hiking team, and passed away on the mountain. Now, I will tell you, President Jimenez, I was there with her. President Jimenez got word from the embassy in Ecuador, and starting in early February, she has continued to lead UVU, but in a way that is just a bit different. I don't share this personal story gratuitously. I share it because we as a UVU family have rallied around our dear president to let her know we've got this, meaning we'll run the university. You take all the time you need to grieve. And over the course of the summer, as President Jimenez was rallying her children around her and seeing what she would do to move forward, she talked to me personally a lot about legacy. She said, you know, I've been here almost, this is in the summer, remember? I've been here almost 7 years, which she just completed in September. She said, Kyle, I've been here almost 7 years. I worked as Matt Holland's chief of staff. He was our former president. And I was Matt Holland's chief of staff. And so she said, tell me, at what point did President Holland start talking about legacy? And I said, President Jimenez, actually, he didn't talk about it until his last month. And she said, well, in what way did he talk about it? I said, actually, he only brought it up. He didn't have any goals about what his legacy would be. But now that you ask, I remember him in his final month before he was called to serve as a mission president for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In his last month of service as UVU's president in 2018, he said, I wish that more than anything, that UVU, the memory of me, my presidency for 9 years, is that the students know that I worked tirelessly to give them every opportunity possible. So think about that legacy for just a moment. All President Holland wanted in 9 years, it wasn't a legacy of fundraising or building buildings or even having the beautiful Roots of Knowledge stained glass windows installed in the library. It wasn't that we went from being in the Great West Conference to the Western Athletic Conference. His legacy wasn't the fact that he was able to lecture from Oxford to Harvard to Cambridge as a representative of UVU. In his last month, he said his legacy was that every student and every employee knew that every decision he made was to provide more excellent opportunities for the next generation. So I shared this with President Jimenez. Over the last number of months, then, we have been talking about really what she wants her legacy to be. And then, did I remind you, it's been a tough year for UVU's family overall? The tragedy of September 10th, the tragic killing of Charlie Kirk on our campus. And I don't say that to drum up any sort of emotions, other than to say it's sort of the elephant in the room for those of us who are navigating, trying to help our students and navigating a very polarizing world right now. Everywhere I go, I just traveled to Dallas last weekend. I'm wearing UVU gear or a UVU tie. By the way, you like my UVU tie? I'm always on brand here. President Jimenez dyes part of her hair green. I can't pull that off here. So on the plane in Dallas, somebody goes, you work at UVU? And I said, yes, I do. Oh, what do you do there? And I told them, I work as one of the administrators over alumni and advancement. And they said, your entire campus has been in my prayers. And I thought, thank you. You don't even know me. You don't even know our students. You don't know our community. And this stranger, UVU was on the global stage for a period of 2 to 3 weeks every day, and continues to be in some way, but it's kind of softened a little bit. Why do I bring that up? Because lately, people have said to us, are you afraid that this incident, this tragedy, is going to become UVU's legacy? And I thought, heavens no. Meaning, the tragedy itself is a tragedy, and our condolences will continue to go to the Kirk family. And yet, UVU has never been about the tragedy. UVU has been about opportunities for the next generation to learn from things. And I will tell you, one of the exciting things that we have launched is an initiative, a presidential initiative that President Jimenez has launched called Our Better Selves. So what is this initiative? It's bringing together the Center for Constitutional Studies, the Herbert Institute of Public Policy, our Peace and Justice Studies program, the Center for Social Impact, and our Ethics Center, all to host dialogues and healthy debates around different ideals, different positions, different views, in a way that is healthy and in a way that brings us together more than divides us. Just today, the reason why I kind of had to fly in here or just run here and then I'm running away is we're hosting 2 senators speaking at UVU covered by CNN today at 3 o'clock. CNN will be live streaming Senator John Curtis and Senator Kelly from Arizona, a Republican and a Democrat, showing how we can disagree across lines of difference and still be respectful to one another. So President Jimenez, some of the things that we are pushing forward from now on is UVU's legacy is not going to be that a tragic killing happened on our campus. We happen to be the unfortunate location of such an incident. Our legacy is and will always be paying it forward to the next generation, give them opportunities. Those that have heard me speak before might remember this story. I failed out of college 3 times. I was a graffiti artist in Los Angeles. My mom, who was a lifelong educator, was not too happy of some of my teenage choices and my early adult choices. But through mentors and miracles who never gave up on me, who kept saying, I think you have a story to tell. You should go on and get a bachelor's degree in graphic design. I worked at New Skin for a year as a graphic designer here at Provo. And then somebody said, what brings you joy? And I said, honestly, I just love talking to kids about college. They said, you can have a career in that. I was like, tell me more. They said, why don't you go over to this school called UVSC in 2003. I think they're doing a lot, especially for those students who don't think they can go to college. There are other universities who have those students who are valedictorians and who are, very super competitive. That's awesome. It's amazing. But there's a lot of students who don't get into some of those schools. And again, in 2003, it was a very different landscape. So I went over to UVSC. I quit my job at New Skin, making $44,000 a year at New Skin. And I told my fiance, Michelle, I said, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go take a job at UVSC for $23,000 a year. Because guess what I get to do every day? I get to visit the low income and rural communities of Utah and talk to kids and tell them I believe in them, that they can go to college. 22 years later, 8 jobs later, 2 degrees later, and 7 children later, I continue to believe in what we're doing at UVU. I have a great respect for all of our colleagues at BYU, and the University of Utah, and Westminster, and Weber, and all the other amazing higher ed institutions. And anybody that gives anywhere else to Primary Children's or Huntsman or any of the other higher ed institutions, thank you for lifting our entire community. But what I say everywhere I go is this. I can guarantee you, if you give to UVU in any form or fashion, it's going to save lives. I have now interacted with thousands and thousands of students since I've been a professor for 7 years, the vice president of student affairs for 5 years, the chief of staff to our president for 5 years, and now 3 years over fundraising. I can tell you, I can look any donor in the eye and tell them, I know where your money went. And I guarantee you it went to students. I can give you an impact report to show you the impact that you're having on our community. And so when I think of legacy, and I'll end with this, and then you can really just enjoy your lunch. When I think of legacy, I think of President Holland's mention of legacy. I think of President Jimenez whenever it is time for her to say, it's my time to stop being the president of UVU, whenever that's her choice, right? Whenever it's time. I believe her legacy will be one of also championing students at every level, literally, with her pom-poms, cheering at basketball games and soccer matches and wrestling matches, and she's pounding the mat at wrestling matches and dyeing her hair green. Her heart and soul has been for our students. That's her legacy. And make no mistake, UVU is just getting started. The legacy that we're building of opportunity access, and transformation for students will continue for this valley. We end with this number. We now have 48,600 students at UVU. I'm not sure when you started getting involved, but when I started at UVSC in 2003, we had 24,000 students. 22 years later, to have 48,600 and to be on a growth trajectory that we are, it's not just because we are accessible. Students are choosing the quality of education. We've just partnered with Oxford for a 60-year partnership where we're fundraising to build a campus at Oxford. UVU, it'll be UVU at Oxford University, Pembroke College. We have 220 acres in Vineyard, and we just received the largest gift in UVU's history at $35 million to build the College of Health and Public Services building to now house our nursing program, respiratory therapy, dental hygiene, all in the top 3 floors of a building. So what's the bottom 2 floors dedicated to? Our students get their clinical hours serving the community, practicing, and being able to do actual engaged learning to get their clinical hours. That'll be our first building out there in partnership with Huntsman Cancer Institute. What else are we doing? We're about to move from the Western Athletic Conference to the Big West Conference with these powerhouses in California. What else are we doing? We are partnering up for this Our Better Selves initiative with Governor Cox and Disagree Better program that he has launched. What else are we doing? We just won. We are top 3 in the United States for our financial planning wealth management program. That was not an error in what I said. We are top 3 in the United States with a goal of becoming number 1 for financial planning and wealth management. We just received an influx of funds of $5.2 million for the Applied Artificial Intelligence Institute, which we are launching. We will become the place, not for research on artificial intelligence, but what AI looks like across every profession, because every profession needs to consider how AI is impacting their world. So guess what? We have just been named already a top 20 university for applied AI in the United States. Can you feel that? Do you understand why I'm so excited about what's ahead? This is not the UVSC of 2003. UVU, by its sheer size, scope, and opportunity for our community. If you live in this community, 74% of our graduates are still in the state 10 years after graduation. What does that tell you? Our graduates are paying taxes, contributing, growing the economy of this state. So when we make the argument that Utah should invest in UVU, the return on a dollar is every dollar in is $8 back to the state of Utah. And so what's the ROI? Not just return on investment, but return on impact. Every dollar in, making a difference. So here's my plea to you. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make at least one ask to you, right? My plea to you is to get engaged with UVU in any form or fashion that you can. Consider making a small contribution. I'm not going to avoid large contributions, but consider making a small contribution. And here's what I'll say. Ask yourself the question of legacy. Michelle and I are already talking about legacy. We established a scholarship in my mom's name last year. By the way, Vicky, I think this is the first place I announced it a year ago. My mom was a 40-year educator in Los Angeles. My wife and I finally kind of scraped up enough money, over 9 years of saving, to establish a scholarship in her name. For us, we want our children, we have to make a choice and we say to the kids, we can't go on this cool vacation. We want you to know where that money went. It went to grandma's scholarship. I think we're actually teaching our kids a different lesson. That maybe we don't have to go to Disneyland this year. That maybe I should learn about what grandma did so that mom and dad decided to put their money there instead. I feel really good about the legacy we're establishing. I would invite you to consider what you could do to help us grow that legacy. And as always, thank you for continuing to show up. Thank you for all that you're doing for our community. And it's always an honor to be with Elder Quest. Thanks. Whoa. All right. I'm in Los Angeles. So if you're from Toronto, peace.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Oh.
I'm glad to see that you're still enjoying your lunch. Wasn't that a wonderful message that we heard from Dr. Kyle Reyes? And we appreciate him coming. We appreciate you being here. And before I invite over to Gary and Robert and our Elder Quest Scholarship Committee, I'm going to put a little bit of a plug in for UVU scholarship. I love UVU. I didn't go there, have 2 degrees from BYU. My husband was a professor at BYU for 32 years. And most of our children and some of our grandchildren have been graduates of BYU. But I remember well when UVU was the tech college, and it was there on University Avenue, just a few old dilapidated buildings that were nothing. I took a class there and was absolutely appalled by how old and dilapidated it was. And look what it has done, and look what it contributes to our community. And I'm proud to say that some of my grandchildren, several of them, have graduated from UVU and have received a wonderful education from that wonderful university that we have in our midst. A couple of weeks ago, I received something that it was a treasure to me. I don't think the person that gave this to me realized what a treasure it might be. She was just being very kind. But Cindy Dunford found this little notepad that I have on my phone that says our Elder Quest theme for this year: live life in full bloom. One reason that it meant so much to me and will continue to mean a lot to me is because it made my mind start thinking about and my heart start thinking about Cindy's mother, Laura Duncan. I am so glad that I got to spend a few years in Elder Quest with Cindy, or with Laura, before she passed away. She was an amazing woman, the last of the original founders of Elder Quest. And it was always interesting to chat with Flora and hear a bit about the early beginnings of Elder Quest. It was Flora and a few other women that first established the UVU Elder Quest partnership. And you'll hear more about that partnership today. But I want to just say that one of the things I will always admire and remember about Flora is that she contributed an ongoing endowment when she passed away, so that her legacy, her love of UVU, would continue to live in the hearts of deserving UVU students for many, many years to come. I just say hooray, UVU, and hooray for our part that we play in providing those scholarships for deserving non-traditional get the words, non-traditional UVU students. I'm grateful to be part of that effort. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to, I think she's assistant chairman, vice chair of our Elder Quest Scholarship Committee, Terry Ann Harwood.
Hello, my name is Terry Ann Harward, and I serve on the Elder Quest Scholarship Committee. I'd like to introduce you to one of our scholarship recipients from Elder Quest this year.
Hello, my name is Nahin Lish. I am originally from South Korea and a proud mother of 3 wonderful children. After spending 10 years raising my family, I made the decision to return to school and continue my education. I choose the UVU because of its supportive community and excellent dental hygiene program. Although English is my second language and has presented challenges, it has strengthened my determination. My academic focus is on promoting oral health through prevention and education. And my goal is to become a licensed dental hygienist who help people understand the connection between oral and oral health. I also hope to inspire other mothers and non-traditional students to believe that it's never too late to pursue their dreams. Receiving this scholarship has eased the financial burden of returning to school, allowing me to concentrate my studies and clinical trainings. Most importantly, it has given me confidence and motivation, reminding me that others believe in my potential and support my journey toward becoming a compassionate dental hygienist. Thank you.
Isn't she great? Let me tell you a little bit about Elder Quest Scholarship Program, but first things first. I'd like to introduce you to the Elder Quest Scholarship Committee. Joan Hahn is the committee chair. Bonnie Harmon, Dave Johnson, Ken Larkin, and myself also serve on the committee. We receive a pile of applications each year that we go through and rank and then hand back to UVU, and they're the ones that make the final awards. We also appreciate the help we receive from UVU Planned Giving Director, Vicki Hopper. She is a great help. And as always, Karen Cloward, the Assistant Director in Community Education. Karen's office manages the ElderQuest webpage at UVU, where donations can be made 24/7, along with our luncheon reservations and ElderQuest registration, and so on. Our ElderQuest scholarships are awarded to non-traditional UVU students. These students are full-time, non-traditional students pursuing a bachelor degree with I think it's 3.0 GPA. They are usually juniors and seniors, but they are always students who have returned to college after being away for a little bit. They demonstrate financial need according to UVU standards, and preference is given to primary caretakers of dependents in the home. Let's hear from another one of our ElderQuest students, Tanner Hill.
Hi. First off, just wanted to say thank you. Your generosity has made a huge difference for me and my family. My name is Tanner Hill. I'm studying information systems with an emphasis in cybersecurity at UVU. I chose UVU because they have great online programs, which enables me to work, and my wife works as well, so we can support our 2 kids. I'm passionate about helping people stay online while protecting their privacy and security. This scholarship has eased my financial burdens by helping me pay tuition, use it for housing, transportation, and it helps me focus on learning and by helping my family instead of just making ends meet. Thank you again for investing in me and my future, and for helping me work toward a career that will help others. Thanks.
It's always great to hear from our students, but let me tell you a little bit of the history. The first ElderQuest scholarship was established in 2004 through Joan Hahn's determination and work with Nancy Smith in the UVU Development Office. The ElderQuest endowment at UVU was originally $30,000 and it was raised in the 2024 year. And now it is close to $130,000. That's $100,000 more than originally we started with. It will continue to grow and provide a portion of the funding for the ElderQuest scholarships each year. Our first scholarship was awarded in 2006. That amounts to 20 years of ElderQuest scholarships. That's another wow. Since the first ElderQuest scholarship was awarded 20 years ago, ElderQuest has helped 142 non-traditional students for a total of $363,000 awarded in UVU scholarships. Let me say it again. Wow, wow, wow. To me, this is a true ElderQuest miracle. As an organization, we ElderQuesters donated slightly over $9,000 last year. I'm always aware that there are donations large and small, but they each one make a difference. Your donations from last year were combined with the allotment from UVU ElderQuest Endowment, and it provides the funding for this year's awards. At the first of the school year, 5 ElderQuest scholarships were offered to and accepted by UVU students. But sadly, 2 of the students either chose not to attend or withdrew the first part of the semester. So there are still 2 scholarships that are unawarded. These 2 scholarships will be offered to other qualifying students again in the spring. Any amount not awarded this academic year moves forward to next year so we can award it in the next year. So to date, we have 3 ElderQuest scholarships that have been accepted, and we look forward to updating the numbers soon. When I graduated from UVU 30 years ago, the tuition was just $579 per semester. This year's UVU tuition is $3,337.19 for one semester, or $6,674.38 per year for full-time students. I'm not sure how today's students manage, but I know they always express appreciation for our help and support, as you've heard these last 2 students in these last 2 videos. Our third recipient was unable to be here today, but I'd like to read her story to you. Her name is Michaela Lofgren, and these are her words. Thank you for the opportunity to receive this scholarship. I am a senior studying business management. I am a mom and a stepmom. My stepsons are ages 8 and 6. My son is 3 years old. I hope to continue my education to receive my master's in accountancy at Utah State University in Logan. Thank you again for this opportunity. With your help, I am better able to pay for my education and provide for my family and continue my dream of earning my degree. Now I'll invite you to consider giving to ElderQuest Scholarship. Remember, every bit helps. Joan Hahn, our scholarship committee chair, will close with a few words.
Good afternoon. My name is Joan Hahn. I'm the chairman of the scholarship committee, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm very touched. The scholarships are extremely important to me. In 2002, when I was elected president of ElderQuest, I thought about it and I thought, I love the classes, I love our luncheons, but we need to be more than just that. We need to have a purpose. And so I thought, we need to give scholarships. Most of us are well educated in this group. And we've gone to college and we know how hard it is and we know how much it costs. And so I thought if we can give scholarships to UVU, to students that need it, this is going to make us have an incredible purpose. The board at that time was really with me, all except for our two people that fought against us, but we had more people than that, and we all wanted to do scholarships. And so we began to set up a program that would help us with that. I went to UVU's scholarship committee, and Nancy Smith was the chairperson. She was incredible. She was so thrilled that we wanted to give a scholarship, and she said she would help us in any way she could. And she was really our cheerleader all the way through this. She told us that before we could give a scholarship, we had to have $20,000 in an endowment fund. Now, $30,000 was just way, way, way over our heads. And we said, can't we do it for any less than that? And she said, no, you have to have 30,000 in that endowment fund, and then you can give scholarships. So I went back to my board, and there were people on it that absolutely believed in this and worked so very hard to make it happen. One of them was Flora Duncan. And Flora Duncan, when she died about a year ago, she left $10,000 for the endowment scholarship. And that was amazing. I loved her. She worked hard. She donated throughout her entire life, and she was a huge support. I needed a secretary. I needed somebody to help me, and I couldn't find a secretary. So I started calling. I talked to 16 people, all of whom turned me down. And then I called Betty Lewis. And as I asked her to be secretary, she said, oh, yes, I'd love to. And I said, what did you say? And she said, I said, yes, I want to work with you. And work with me, she did. And work with us, she did. She was an incredible staff secretary. She stuck with me for the whole 6 years that I was president. And I want you to know that I deeply admire her, as I did all of my board at that time. They were incredible. We decided the only way we could get this going and get $30,000 was to do an auction. So we went around to some of the businesses that we knew. We talked to our board, we talked to people, and we had things appear for the luncheon, like yard row figurines, beautiful ones. We had a beautiful framed picture, homemade quilts, all kinds of things appeared. And so we gathered enough things that we could auction that we felt we would make a lot of money. And I talked to my son. He went to auctions all the time. And I said, can you be the auctioneer? And he said, sure, I'd love to be your auctioneer. So we did 4 of those. And we made finally, by 2006, 4 years, we had 30,000 in an endowment fund. And at that point, Nancy Smith said, you've got it, Joan, go for it. And go for it we did. Now we needed to make money and have money donated for the scholarship so we could now give. And I can't tell you how thrilled the entire board was at that point. The two that had been against us all the way, when they found out that I was going to do a plaque with all the names of the board that worked on that, they immediately began to work on it. They did. One of them gave one of the homemade quilts. I can't remember what the other one gave, but it was a great gift. And so we went forward and we were underway. The $30,000 was there. Now we just had to raise the money for the scholarships. And that first year we raised enough to give one scholarship. And I can't tell you how excited we were to present that one scholarship. We have now given, as they've told you, about 144 scholarships. So this organization truly believes in education. I want to talk to you about some of the people that we actually gave money to go to college. I was deeply touched by all of the people, and we had to choose because every year we had to decide how many scholarships can we give. And based upon that, that was how we went to work. One of the first people we scholarshiped was a woman who was married to a man who was he owned a ladder company in Salt Lake, and they did the high-rise windows there. And he was the president of that organization. One horrible day when we had a terrible storm come up out of nowhere and a violent wind, the wind threw him and his board that he was on at that time through a glass window. He landed on the floor covered with glass, and he had broken bones in his arm and bones in his leg, his hip, and he was in terrible shape. He was in the hospital for a long time, and when he came out, he was home recovering. And his wife said, "I need to go to college. I'm going to have to be the one to support us. And I've had 2 years, but I need those other 2 years. So if you can help me buy a scholarship, I can't tell you what it would do for us, because at this point, I am the person earning money and I need to have a better job." And so we went to work and we scholarshiped her, and she graduated. The other man was a Black man from Georgia. He came to us and told us that he had walked all the way from Georgia to UVU. He had read about UVU. He was looking for a college that would take anyone, and they would take anyone. And so he walked all that way. He picked fruit off the trees. He picked vegetables out of the gardens. He asked people if he could weed the garden to pick a few of their vegetables, and if he could pick the fruit so that he could have some of the fruit. And people all along the way helped him get there. They gave him food to eat. They made sandwiches for him. He picked gardens. He picked trees. And he walked and hiked all the way from Georgia to UVU. And when he got there, he was a thrilled student. And he had saved enough money for the tuition for first year. He didn't have enough room for board, so he figured he could live in the orchards during the fall. And then after that, maybe he could sneak into a bathroom and stay there while it was warm. So he desperately needed money to help him get that scholarship. And we were able to scholarship him with a full scholarship for an entire year. Another one, I could tell you so many stories, but I'm going to limit it. But I'd like you to hear this one. A woman, one of the women that we came to us to be scholarshiped was a lovely woman. She worked for the Zions Bank in Spanish Fork, and her sister had 4 children and had gone to prison and was going to be imprisoned for the next 10 years. So she asked her sister if she would take the 4 children and if she would raise them. This girl was 24 years old, 24. She took the 4 children. She knew she could do it. 3 of them were in grade school at that point. 1 was in preschool. So she went to work and she continued at Zion's. She asked for extra hours. but she wanted to be a school teacher. So she'd have the same hours that they would have. And so she was there talking to us and asking us to please scholarship her. We did scholarship her. And I want you to know that when she did this, she was engaged. And the man that she was engaged to said, okay, we're going to be raising 4 children and maybe others, but we know we're going to start with 4. He was willing to take on her and those 4 children. I really don't know where you find men like that, but she found one. And he stayed with her for many, many years. I don't know what they went for after about the first 3 or 4 years. I lost track of him, but I know that he was there. I beg you, I plead with you, please, 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 open your hearts, open your purses, open your bank accounts, open your wallets. We need your money. We desperately need your money. We are going to be scholarshiping students again this year. And last year we scholarshiped 4. 4 students are now on their way to a better life from last year, but 144 are on their way for a better life because you helped that 144 do it. You need to help us now. Give as much as you can give, please. ElderQuest doesn't keep 1 penny. UVU doesn't keep 1 penny. Every single cent you give will be given for scholarships. Nobody's going to spend 1 penny of what you give us. I love you. I know you. I've worked with you for years, and I want you to know that ElderQuest is an incredible organization. We are much more than the wonderful classes we attend, the incredible lunches we attend. We scholarship students so that they can become extremely, extremely fond of themselves and have a degree that will send them through life. And you will have done it. Thank you so much.